There are moments when a contender has to stop asking for permission and start forcing people to respect it. And today, Santa Clara is not dealing with tiny details. There is a rookie fighting to prove he belongs on this roster. There is a possible trench piece sitting right there in the conversation. There is an expensive saga that cannot keep draining oxygen from the building. And there is a backup quarterback quietly turning into a real strategic asset. This is about depth, pressure, and protecting the window. The 49ers cannot sit back and get comfortable. They have to think like hunters. Hit that like button because today we are coming in hot and we are not sugarcoating a thing. Now with Enrique Cruz, I do not want to hear the soft talk about treating a late pick like some lottery ticket with no real consequences. The 49ers used a pick on him because they need protection. They need depth. They need to stop living on the edge every single time the offensive line starts taking hits. And for a tackle drafted after pick 150, the realistic expectation is not walking in, kicking the door down, and stealing a veteran's job on the very first practice field. The historical average for that type of player is around 196 snaps and 3 rookie starts. That is the floor of the conversation, not the ceiling. But this is where I get aggressive with the read. San Francisco cannot hide behind the word development just to excuse a player being invisible. When you filter the names who actually became useful players, the standard goes up. That group played closer to 349 snaps and started 5 games as rookies. Braxton Jones, Kelvin Beachum, Colton McKivitz, Trent Brown, Warren McClendon, Cole Van Lanen. Those examples show there is real life in that draft range. It is not glamorous. It is roster survival. And Cruz has a direct fight sitting right in front of him. Vedrian Lowe has started before. He is not a star, but he is a professional backup. Austin Pleasance is exactly the kind of name Cruz has to attack from the first minicamp. No asking for time, no looking lost, no giving the coaching staff a reason to hesitate when they build the bottom of this roster. If he cannot pass Pleasance, the light comes on. If he pushes Lowe, now you start to see a real plan. The best case scenario for Cruz in 2026 is not becoming some savior. It is being active on Sundays, stepping in when needed, maybe stealing snaps, maybe holding up in an emergency without the whole offense falling apart. And if he sits the entire year, that does not bury his career either. But on a team chasing a title, every pick has to fight to justify oxygen on the roster. Cruz has to show early that he is not just size and projection. He has to become trust. And that is exactly why AJ Epenesa's name cannot just be pushed aside like another random May rumor. The 49ers have Nick Bosa. Everybody knows that. Every offense in the NFL knows that. The problem is, knowing it is not enough to win in January. If the pass rush turns into a one-man dependency, the opponent doubles him, chips him, delays routes, changes protections, and forces the rest of the line to answer. And when the rest does not answer, the opposing quarterback gets air. For a team like San Francisco, that almost feels like an insult to its own DNA. Epenesa would not be brought in to be the face of the defense. He should not be framed that way. The aggressive read is different. He would be a rotational piece with size, strength, experience, and the profile to enter pressure packages without making the front lose weight against the run. He spent years in Buffalo inside a competitive defense, used as a complement, not a savior. And sometimes that is exactly the kind of player who changes the energy of a line. Not because of the headline, because of the total, because of the sequence, because the offense looks away from Bosa and realizes there is no cheap breather. Now, nobody serious ignores the physical side of this. The deal with the Browns, reported as a one-year contract worth up to $5 million, was not finalized because Cleveland was not comfortable after the medical evaluation. That matters. It matters a lot. And if San Francisco investigates this, they have to do it cold. Doctors, condition, risk, price, usage plan. But medical risk does not automatically erase the football fit. It changes the negotiation. It changes the number. It changes the protection in the contract. The internal question has to be tough. Who helps Bosa when the season turns into a fight in the trenches? Osa Odigizua strengthens the interior. The young guys need to grow. But a contender cannot depend only on hope. The 49ers were scarier when the defensive line came in waves. One body after another, one violent snap after another. If Epenesa is healthy enough and the price is real, this conversation deserves real attention. Not because it is some shiny magazine cover signing, but because it could be the dirty, physical, necessary move that gives this pass rush that suffocating feel again. And for a defense that wants to bite for real again, depth is not a luxury, it is ammunition. And then here comes Brandon Aiyuk again, dragging a story that has moved way past simply being complicated. This is the part where a lot of people want to turn the 49ers into the villain for not giving the player away for free. But I am sorry, San Francisco is right to wait. Absolutely right. If there is even a tiny chance to get compensation, the franchise has to hold the line as long as possible. That is not petty, that is business. That is roster management. That is refusing to turn an asset into a gift for another team. Jason La Canfora framed the situation in very strong terms. The expectation around the league is that Aiyuk has already played his final snap for the 49ers, and the team is expected to wait as long as possible before cutting ties. The reason is brutal and simple. He has $27 million tied to 2026, and neither San Francisco nor another team seems willing to pay anything close to that right now. Add the serious knee injury, the limited 2024 production, with 23 catches, 351 yards, and no touchdowns in 7 games, and the market understands why nobody is rushing to rescue this saga. But here is the point I will defend hard. The 49ers do not need to apologize for using the clock in their favor. Aiyuk is not costing new money at this moment. Whatever compensation came back right now might not even help immediately. So why cut him today? Clear the path for another team to negotiate cheap, and still walk away like San Francisco completely lost control. Wait! Let the market get nervous. Let a rival lose a receiver in camp. Let someone stare at their depth chart and think, maybe I need to make a call. That does not erase what Aiyuk was. He had strong years. He was a real fit for Kyle Shanahan. He blocked, separated, produced. But a contender cannot stay trapped in pretty memories while the present becomes a distraction. Brock Purdy needs a clean direction. The offense needs to work with players who are inside the project. And if Aiyuk is no longer aligned, then the franchise's job is to maximize the exit, not romanticize the past. Niners fans, I want to read you on this one. Would you hold Aiyuk until somebody gets desperate? Or cut him now just to kill the noise? Because this decision is not about affection, it is about control. And to close out today's news, look at how the story at the most important position in sports changed without any fireworks. Mac Jones stayed. There was speculation. There was market talk. There was that idea that maybe some quarterback-needy team would come knocking on the 49ers' door. But nothing turned into a trade. And honestly, that might be a quiet win for San Francisco. Because the 49ers are not playing rebuild football. Brock Purdy is the starter, period. But anybody who follows the NFL without fantasy knows a long season makes insurance expensive. A bad backup can destroy 3 weeks. A lost backup can wreck seeding, rhythm, confidence, and even the mood of a locker room. Mac Jones, with all his limits, showed in 2025 that he can keep the ship moving. He had 2,151 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a 77.1 overall PFF grade, 8 big-time throws, and 10 turnover-worthy plays. That is not a star resume. That is the resume of a backup who does not panic when he has to enter the game. And then Matt Mayoko brought an interesting read. He is not fully convinced Mac will leave just to chase starter money after the season. In that view, there is a decent chance he stays with the Niners as a long-term backup. That bothers people who think every former first-round pick has to keep chasing the next stage. But sometimes the best career move is staying where the system understands you, where the coach knows how to protect your strengths, where the role is clear. The next quarterback draft class matters too. If the 2027 draft is stronger, fewer teams may want to throw starter money at Mac Jones. Some may prefer rookies. Others may look for a bridge veteran. And if that market cools, San Francisco has to be ready to say, "Good, stay here, learn, prepare, help Brock, keep the room steady." Curtis Rourke is still part of that equation as a possible future backup, maybe in 2027, but he still has to prove it on the field. Mac has already proven he can operate inside chaos. And on a team with real ambition, that has value. It is not sexy. It does not sell some massive headline. But when Purdy takes a hit and the stadium holds its breath, you find out in 2 seconds whether you treated the position with seriousness or arrogance. The 49ers are choosing seriousness. At the end of the day, the picture is clear. The 49ers are being tested in the details that separate a good team from a dangerous one. Cruz has to turn a late pick into real usefulness. Epenesa, if the evaluation checks out, could bring more force to a line that cannot leave Bosa alone. Aiyuk has become a battle for control, and San Francisco does not have to bow to the market. Mac Jones shows that security can win seasons too. That is the point. The window is open, but only the tough get through it. If you want Niners coverage every day, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay with me in this fight.